Matsuo Bashō, The Narrow Road to the Deep North, translated from the Japanese by Nobuyuki Yuasa. Days and months are travelers of eternity. So are the years that pass by. Those who steer a boat across the sea or drive a horse over the earth till they succumb to the weight of years spend every minute of their lives traveling. There are a great number of ancients, too, who died on the road. I myself have been tempted for a long time by the cloud-moving wind, filled with a strong desire to wander. It was only towards the end of last autumn that I returned from rambling along the coast. I barely had time to sweep the cobwebs from my broken house on the river Sumida before the new year, but no sooner had the spring mist begun to rise over the field than I wanted to be on the road again to cross the barrier gate of Shirakawa in due time. The gods seemed to have possessed my soul and turned it inside out, and roadside images seemed to invite me from every corner, so that it was impossible for me to stay idle at home. Even while I was getting ready, mending my torn trousers, tying a new strap to my hat, and applying moxa to my legs to strengthen them, I was already dreaming of the full moon rising over the islands of Matsushima. Finally, I sold my house, moving to the cottage of Sampu for a temporary stay. Upon the threshold of my old home, however, I wrote a linked verse of 8 pieces and hung it on a wooden pillar. The starting piece was, "Behind this door, now buried in deep grass, a different generation will celebrate the festival of dolls." It was early on the morning of March the 27th that I took to the road. There was darkness lingering in the sky, and the moon was still visible, though gradually thinning away. The faint shadow of Mount Fuji and the cherry blossoms of Ueno and Yanaka were bidding me a last farewell. My friends had got together the night before, and they all came with me on the boat to keep me company for the first few miles. When we got off the boat at Senju, however, the thought of the 3,000 miles before me suddenly filled my heart, and neither the houses of the town nor the faces of my friends could be seen by my tearful eyes except as a vision. The passing spring, birds mourn, fishes weep with tearful eyes. With this poem to commemorate my departure, I walked forth on my journey, but lingering thoughts made my steps heavy. My friends stood in a line and waved goodbye as long as they could see my back. I walked all through that day, ever wishing to return after seeing the strange sights of the far north, but not really believing in the possibility, for I knew that departing like this on a long journey in the second year of Genroku, I should only accumulate more frosty hairs on my head as I approached the colder regions. When I reached the village of Soka in the evening, my bony shoulders were sore because of the load I had carried, which consisted of a paper coat to keep me warm at night, a light cotton gown to wear after the bath, scanty protection against the rain, writing equipment, and gifts from certain friends of mine. I wanted to travel light, of course, but there were always certain things I could not throw away for either practical or sentimental reasons. I I went to see the shrine of Muro no Yashima. According to Sora, my companion, this shrine is dedicated to the goddess called the Lady of Flower-Bearing Trees, who was another shrine at the foot of Mount Fuji. This goddess is said to have locked herself up in a burning cell to prove the divine nature of her newly conceived son when her husband doubted it. As a result, her son was named the Lord born out of the fire, and her shrine, Muro no Yashima, which means a burning cell. It was the custom of this place for poets to sing for the rising smoke and for ordinary people not to eat konoshiro, a speckled fish, which has a vile smell when burnt. I lodged in an inn at the foot of Mount Nikko on the night of March the 13th. The host of the inn introduced himself as Honest Gozaimon and told me to sleep in perfect peace upon his grass pillow, for his sole ambition was to be worthy of his name. I watched him rather carefully, but found him almost stubbornly honest, utterly devoid of worldly cleverness. It was as if the merciful Buddha himself had taken the shape of a man to help me in my wandering pilgrimage. Indeed, such saintly honesty and purity as his must not be scorned, for it verges closely on the perfection preached by Confucius. On the first day of April, I climbed Mount Nikko to do homage to the holiest of the shrines upon it. This mountain used to be called Nikko. When the high priest Kukai built a temple upon it, however, he changed the name to Nikko, which means the bright beams of the sun. Kukai must have had the power to see 1,000 years into the future, for the mountain is now the seat of the most sacred of all shrines, and its benevolent power prevails throughout the land, embracing the entire people like the bright beams of the sun. To say more about the shrine would be to violate its holiness. It was with awe that I beheld fresh leaves, green leaves, bright in the sun. Mount Kurokami was visible through the mist in the distance. It was brilliantly white with snow in spite of its name, which means black hair. Rid my hair. I came to Mount Kurokami on the day we put on clean summer clothes. My companion's real name is Kawai Sogoro, Sora being his pen name. He used to live in my neighborhood and help me in such chores as bringing water and firewood. He wanted to enjoy the views of Matsushima and Kisagata with me, and also to share with me the hardships of the wandering journey. So he took to the road after taking the tonsure on the very morning of our departure, putting on the black robe of an itinerant priest and even changing his name to Sogo, which means religiously enlightened. His poem, therefore, is not intended as a mere description of Mount Kurokami. The last 2 lines in particular impress us deeply, for they express his determination to persist in his purpose. After climbing 200 yards or so from the shrine, I came to a waterfall, which came pouring out of a hollow in the ridge and tumbled down into the dark green pool below in a huge leap of several hundred feet. The rocks of the waterfall were so carved out that we could see it from behind, though hidden ourselves in a craggy cave. Hence its nickname, See from Behind. Silent a while in a cave, I watched a waterfall for the first of the summer observances.